Newsfirst at 9. Headlines.
A very good evening to you and welcome to Primetime News at 9, coming to you live from the Newsfirst centres here in Colombo. I'm Stephanie Lazarus and here are your headlines. Elections Commissioner says that he will take action against those who violate election laws subsequent to the polls. Presidential elections before the Sinhala and Tamil New Year in 2015. A revelation by Minister Rohitha Abe Gunawardena. Chairman of the Wilgamu Pradesh Sabha arrested yet again in possession of marijuana, remanded along with 2 others. There is one law for the people and another law for ministers, a statement in Parliament by MP J. Sriranga. Monk attached to the Aranya Senasanaya in Tamil Nadu were killed by a wild elephant. And on international news tonight, Australia investigates 2 objects in the Indian Ocean suspected to be debris from the missing flight MH370. Let's now cross over to our main news desk for a more comprehensive look at these stories.
Well, thank you very much, Stephanie. Very good evening to you. I'm Shahin Jurangpati.
And I'm Nicola D'Souza. Let's start off with our top story for tonight. 3 persons, including the chairman and former chairman of the Wilgamu Pradesh Sabha, have been remanded until the 1st of March on charges of transporting marijuana. The suspects were remanded when they were produced before the Mahiyangane magistrate today. The trio were arrested in Giranduru Kote last night by the Valana anti-vice squad.
When the suspects were produced in court today, Defence Counsel informed court that the cab that his clients were travelling in had been in a garage in Ukuvela for repairs. He claimed that certain persons had planted a stock of rotten marijuana which was several months old in the cab at this instance as an act of political vengeance. Defence Counsel said in court today that the 3 suspects have in fact been engaged in various social service programs. Police arrested the chairman of the Wilgamu Pradesh Sabha, Jayantavira Sekara, former chairman Ranjit Kumar Singha and a driver and seized a stash of marijuana. The stash of marijuana, which had been inside a cab belonging to the Wilgamu Pradesh Sabha, weighed 2.835 kilograms. The same chairman and former chairman have been arrested on charges of transporting marijuana in an official vehicle on a prior occasion as well. On the 1st of March this year, the duo were arrested near the Nippon Bridge in possession of 275 grams of marijuana. Local politicians faced with a myriad of accusations over the past 2 years. 4 Pradesh Sabha chairmen arrested in connection with incidents of assault. A Pradesh Sabha chairman arrested on charges of raping an underage girl. 2 Pradesh Sabha chairmen arrested on charges of harassment and murder. 2 Pradesh Sabha chairmen arrested on charges pertaining to bribery. Chairman of the Tangol Pradesh Sabha accused of murdering a British tourist and raping his girlfriend at a hotel. Member of the Galigamo Pradesh Sabha arrested on charges of financial fraud. 3 suspects, including the chairman of the Vellavaya Pradesh Sabha, produced before the Vellavaya Magistrates Court in connection with obstructing police officers from carrying out their duty. Chairman of the Damana Pradesh Sabha arrested on suspicion of assaulting a management assistant of the Pradesh Sabha. Chairman and former chairman of the Wilgamu Pradesh Sabha remanded on charges of transporting marijuana. Chairman and former chairman of the Wilgamu Pradesh Sabha remanded once again today on charges of transporting marijuana. Why are local politicians behaving in this way? Human rights activist Ruki Fernando, who was arrested and released, says that he believes his arrest was partly spurred by an international push to independently investigate Sri Lanka's human rights record. Fernando made this comment speaking to CNN.
CNN on its website quotes Ruki Fernando as saying, quote, "I think it's a deliberate attempt to intimidate and suppress any form of dissent, criticism or challenge and clearly not allow people outside Sri Lanka to know what's happening inside the country," unquote. He added, quote, "I anticipate that I will be subject to greater scrutiny and I am extremely worried about the safety and well-being of my colleagues and people I've spoken to in the past," unquote. According to the CNN report, Fernando said the first two charges, which appeared to relate to his work with foreign media to highlight rights abuses, suggested that the arrest was motivated in strong part by the impending events in Geneva. CNN further quotes Fernando, quote, "I was repeatedly asked who in Geneva, who outside Sri Lanka was I sharing information with. It seemed very clear they took great care for other nations not to hear any alternative information or perspectives from within Sri Lanka," unquote.
Amnesty International's representative to the United Nations in Geneva, Peter Splinter, says that Sri Lanka must put an end to the campaign of intimidation and dirty tactics against outspoken human rights defenders, journalists, lawyers and families of the disappeared.
During an informal meeting on the sidelines of the United Nations Human Rights Council sessions in Geneva, Peter Splinter said that while it's positive that the human rights defenders Ruki Fernando and Father Praveen Mahesan have been released, the world must not be fooled. He adds that the fact remains they should never have been arrested in the first place. Peter Splinter also says that the Sri Lankan authorities must stop repressing critical voices and ensure the safety of all those who peacefully express inconvenient truths about the country's post-war human rights situation. He adds that in a diplomatic note circulated to UN member states' permanent missions in Geneva on the 18th of March, the Sri Lankan government sought to portray the two as engaging with people who are trying to revive the LTTE armed group in Sri Lanka. Peter Splinter goes on to say that these are preposterous allegations and they show the lengths to which the Sri Lankan government will go to bury the truth and sully the names of its critics. He said that using the world stage to smear peaceful rights activists puts Sri Lanka in the company of a small club of repressive authoritarian states. He highlights that instead of taking measurable steps towards ensuring justice for the victims of human rights violations, the government of Sri Lanka continues to wage an aggressive campaign against those advocating for accountability and human rights.
Chairman of the United States Senate Committee on Foreign Relations, Robert Menendez, has written to UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Navi Pillay, to express his support for a resolution at the current session of the UN Human Rights Council that calls for an international investigation into Sri Lankan war crimes committed during the country's civil war.
In the letter, Senator Menendez notes, quote, "The committee is concerned with the deteriorating environment for the democratic process and human rights in Sri Lanka," unquote. He also writes, quote, "Until the Sri Lankan government engages in genuine reconciliation that serves to strengthen the long-term stability of the country, I will support international efforts to promote accountability, political reconciliation and reform," unquote. In his letter to Pillay, Senator Menendez adds that Sri Lankan government-led efforts to address these issues have proven inadequate to date, requiring a more active and urgent response by the international community. The letter further reads that the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, which was supposed to empower the provinces and provide for genuine political representation at the local level, provides a legal vehicle for reform and dialogue, and unfortunately, Colombo has passed up the opportunity to fully implement this amendment and has not substantively engaged with the Northern Provincial Council leadership in a meaningful dialogue on political reconciliation. The letter addressed to Pillay by Senator Menendez also read, quote, "Development projects are not, however, a substitute for true political reconciliation," unquote. In conclusion, he says that he is thankful to the UN High Commissioner and for her personal commitment to accountability and democratic reform in Sri Lanka.
A hartal and protest march were staged in Trincomalee today against the resolution on Sri Lanka at the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva. The protest was organized by the Trincomalee Sinhalese, Tamil and Muslim People's Organization.
Shops in the Trincomalee town were closed today when the protest commenced. The protesters voiced their displeasure at the resolution on Sri Lanka at the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva. The police say that public transport services in the area too were dysfunctional, while several bus services that operated heedless of the situation were pelted with stones by a certain group. A protest march commenced from the Trincomalee junction. The protesters who arrived at the Trincomalee town in procession handed over a letter to the district secretary of Trincomalee.
Well, in a significant development, satellite imagery had found two objects possibly related to the search for a Malaysia Airlines jetliner, which remains missing. Now, today marks the 13th day of the search of the missing Malaysia plane after it disappeared on the 8th of March with 239 people on board. Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott said that satellite imagery had found two objects possibly related to the search for a Malaysia Airlines jetliner missing since the 8th of March with 239 people on board. Abbott told Parliament that new and credible information has come to light in relation to the search for Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 in the southern Indian Ocean.
If I may, the Australian Maritime Safety Authority has received information based on satellite imagery of objects possibly related to the search. Following specialist analysis of this satellite imagery, two possible objects related to the search have been identified. I can inform the House that a Royal Australian Air Force Orion has been diverted to attempt to locate the objects. I've spoken to my Malaysian counterpart, Prime Minister Najib Razak, and informed him of these developments. I should tell the House, and we must keep this in mind, the task of locating these objects will be extremely difficult, and it may turn out that they are not related to the search for flight MH370. Nevertheless, I did want to update the House on this potentially important development.
This is a lead. It is probably the best lead we have right now, but we need to get there, find them, see them, assess them to know whether it's really meaningful or not. And I caution again, they'll be difficult to find.
The Australian Maritime Safety Authority said today the objects, the largest of which measured up to 24 metres, were around 1,500 miles southwest of Perth and appeared to be awash over water several thousand metres deep.
Every lead is a hope, and we have been very consistent. We want to verify, we want to corroborate. We are in the process of verifying and corroborating the information.
The FBI is aiding the Malaysian government search for a Malaysia Airlines jet missing for more than a week. The US investigators are believed to be helping the Malaysians examine a home flight simulator belonging to one of the pilots of flight MH370 for clues. No confirmed wreckage from Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 has been found since it vanished from air traffic control screens off Malaysia's east coast less than an hour after taking off from Kuala Lumpur for Beijing. Chinese vessels set out for a new search on sea surface areas to hunt for the missing jetliner after Malaysia announced to further expand the search. China's National Maritime Search and Rescue Center said that the vessels, including China's largest rescue ship, Haizun 1, sailed off from Singapore to waters southeast of the Bay of Bengal and west of Indonesia, covering a sea surface area of 300,000 square kilometers.
Families of Chinese passengers aboard a missing Malaysian Airlines plane have criticized the Malaysian government in the handling of the search. Families for days have demanded an explanation for what they see as a mishandling of the search by Malaysian authorities and demanded to meet the country's ambassador to China. So far unsuccessfully. Investigators believe that someone with detailed knowledge of Boeing 777-200ER and commercial aviation navigation switched off the plane's communication system before diverting it thousands of miles off its scheduled course. Exhaustive background checks of the passengers and crew aboard have not yielded anything that might explain why. This is Parliamentary for Newsfirst, reporting from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
Developing story brought to you by
Ginseng with 19 essential vitamins and minerals.
Back to news from home. Elections Commissioner Mahinda Deshapriya addressed the media today and expressed the following views.
නීති උල්ලංඝනය කිරීම පිළිබඳව පැමිණිලි සංඛ්‍යාව වැඩි බවක් පෙනී යනවා.
There has been a significant rise in the violation of election laws. The reason is because the election is taking place in the western and southern provinces. When comparing the elections, my view is that we have controlled the violation of election laws together with the Department of Elections, the returning officers and the police. We will definitely file cases against those who violated the election laws and those who engage in processions opposite the district secretariats. Though they say no, I have collected all those records thanks to you. I have collected all news items that were aired on the 5th and 6th, so no one can say they didn't. We have collected everything. We will definitely file cases. If the police does not do it, we will write to the Attorney General and file cases.
පස්වෙනිදායි 6 වෙනිදායි නිවුස් වලට කියපුවා එකතු කරන් තියෙන්නේ. ඒක කාටවත් බෑ කියන්න බෑ. ඒ විදිහයෙන් අපි අරගෙන තියෙන අපි නඩු ධම්මනවමයි පොලිසිය දෙන්නේ නැත්නම් අපි නීතිපත්‍රය ලියලා හරි දාන්න. නැතුව කරන්න බෑ.
With the Western and Southern Provincial Council elections just around the corner, candidates are frantically scrambling to canvass voters. Let's take a look at some of the views expressed on the election stage.
While the first preferential vote is cast out of a sense of duty, you should cast the third for educated, intelligent and ethical people, keeping your future in mind. I invite you to cast your preferential vote for someone who you think will put forward a program that is suited to the future of Sri Lanka. See if the person who will come into politics tomorrow with your vote today is an exceptional person who can put forward a program for the future.
According to the Buddhist teachings that I am aware of, nothing is permanent. Everything is temporary. I need to mention that this government has governed this country for 20 years. The rulers are becoming older by the day and are not getting any younger. However, year on year, the names of young people are added to the electoral lists. Today, at times, parents ask their children first before they do some things. Society has changed to such an extent.
In January last year, you would have spent 900 rupees on a 1000 rupee bag of goods. 100 rupees would have been the tax. Today, when you buy a 1000 rupee bag of goods, you have goods worth 600 rupees. The tax is 400 rupees. After another election, the bag of goods will become smaller and the amount of tax in the bag of goods will grow larger. We have come to a situation where we are paying more in taxes than we are paying for goods. In which country in this world do they tax food and drink?
A presidential election will be held prior to the Sinhala New Year next year. And at that election, we will all rally to elect Mahinda Rajapaksa as president of this country for a third time. We will even give our lives to carry out our responsibility of making Mahinda Rajapaksa the president. There is no one else in sight. Let alone a leader, there isn't anyone who can work close to a leader. The opposition has weakened to such an extent.
The final major campaign rally of the Democratic Party in the Kulonnava electorate was held yesterday under the auspices of party leader Sarath Fonseca. The campaign rally organized by the Democratic Party's chief organizer in the Kulonnava electorate and Colombo district candidate Susil Kindelpitia was held last evening at the Umagilia grounds in Kulonnava. This is a country which has lost everything, including economic industries, agriculture, education and health. At the very least, we should have morality in this country. Instead of morality today, we have bowsers of ethanol. The rulers of this country have no need whatsoever to stop the rape, murder and child abuse that is taking place in this country.
He was born in this town. When he goes from house to house, the people welcome him lovingly and they said that they are with him. I believe that he made a guarantee to everyone that he would do something for Kulonnava. I think you are all fortunate because Susil Kindelpitia, who is from Kulonnava, is prepared to raise a voice on your behalf.
Subsequently, Susil Kindelpitia addressed the gathering. None of the people who were appointed as organizers in Kulonnava in the recent past were born in Kulonnava. They do not understand Kulonnava. They do not identify with the woes of Kulonnava. They only come here to straighten their affairs. My friends, Kulonnava must be saved now. My friends, that is why I joined with the hero who saved the country, General Sarath Fonseca.
රට බේරාගත්ත ඒ වීරයා ජෙනරාල් සරත් ෆොන්සේකා මෙතුමා සමග එකතු වුණේ මිත්‍රවරුනි. ජෙනරාල් සරත් ෆොන්සේකා මෙතුමා සමග එකතු වෙලා
My friends, I will join with General Sarath Fonseca and bring victory to the people of Kulonnava, and I will not turn back.
ආපසු හැරෙන්නේ නැහැ මිත්‍රවරුනි.
Meanwhile, parliamentarian Sajid Premadasa says that the hearts of the people can be won through humanity.
He made this remark at a rally held in Tissa Maharama last evening.
We can't push away the public. We can only win their hearts through our humanity. The Sajid Premadasa mark will never be left through politics involving liquor or taverns. I always speak the truth and always point out the truth. However, I will always bow down to the public opinion. Pradipaya, a book authored by attorney at law Udaya Gammanpilla, was launched at the Sri Lanka Foundation Institute in Colombo yesterday.
Several invitees, including Senior Minister Ratnasiri Wickramanayake, were present at the book launch. The book is a compilation of articles penned by Udaya Gammanpilla himself. I wrote these articles over the past 13 years. And if I say that for the past 2 years, Budugala Jeenavansha Thero has troubled me about it, I will be correct. He would make an appointment with me every day and tell me that I should publish these in a book. Although I wrote the articles, the owner of the book is the Venerable Thero.
We know that not only did we lose the majority in Parliament, we even lost the post of Speaker. But because we knew the results, we wanted to be at peace with the Jathika Helorumaya and to join together with the JVP. However, both parties also knew that no one will agree to this. The answer was given to us by Udaya Gammanpilla. It was his talent and his wisdom. I must say that now.
Minister Rishad Badiuddin, speaking at an event held in Colombo yesterday, said that all communities should live together in fraternity.
All communities, Tamil, Sinhalese and Muslim should work together in fraternity. This is our country. Over the past 30 years, we faced a myriad of problems. Sinhala people were killed. Tamil people were killed. Muslim people too were killed. We do not want to descend into war again. We do not want to create fresh problems again either. We must all live together within this country as one. This is the environment we must create.
In other local news, the General Secretary of the Citizens Front, Parliamentarian J. Sri Ranga, speaking in Parliament yesterday, highlighted the importance of the law being implemented equally for all.
It has been 20 days since Jay Kumari Balachandran's 13-year-old daughter attained puberty. This child has been arrested. But what is Minister Rishad Badiuddin saying about the incident where stones were thrown at the Manor Court and the judge was threatened? He says the fact that his phone was used is true. He says that the threat was true, but that he was not the one who used his phone. The judge has rejected this. When this 13-year-old girl was arrested, did she fire a gun? I can bring a gun into this chamber tomorrow, fire it and apologize for shooting MP Azwar. I could say that it was not me and that someone else used my firearm. If I do that, will the court accept it? This is the sort of law we have in the country today. If there is a law in this country, it must be common to all. A 13-year-old girl has been arrested because a person used a firearm at her house. But today, people who threaten court say that another person used their phone and the courts dropped the case. What case did the police file? If 13-year-olds can be arrested because people in their homes use firearms, then why is it that a minister who threatens judges are running free? If there is to be law in this country, it must be common to all. It will not do to have one law for the minority, another law for the majority, yet another law for ministers, and still another law for 13-year-old girls. We are speaking of the law as representatives elected by the people. Well, still in local news, today marks the 72nd birth anniversary of late Minister Gamini Tisanayaka.
A commemorative event was held today at the premises of the statue of late Gamini Dissanayaka at Nellumpokuna Mawatha in Colombo 7. Following religious observances, floral tributes were paid to the statue of the former opposition leader and presidential candidate. Members of the Dissanayaka family, politicians and friends were among those who participated at the event. Our Sri Lankan people only have a memory that lasts 2 weeks. Following the almsgiving in the third month, their memory fades even more. Today we are in an era where after a year, people forget the names of the former leaders of our nation. But whether they have been invited or not, the people of this country are prepared to give alms and listen to sermons on behalf of Gamini Dissanayaka on the 20th of March.
Two bus stop canopies constructed with funds provided by parliamentarian Ravi Karunanayaka were demolished recently. They were reconstructed yesterday by the Colombo Municipal Council. Parliamentarian Ravi Karunanayaka expressed his view on the matter today.
The supporters of the United National Party have elected the Colombo Municipal Council to work for the United National Party as well as the country. This is a completely unwarranted action. If this was left as it were and was operated in the proper manner, there would be no problem. There are many bus halls of this kind across the island. In every corner of the Colombo Municipal Council, there is the President's and Minister's propaganda on bus stops. There is no problem with that apparently. I mentioned this to clear any doubts on this matter, as people could misinterpret it without the proper information. Now that I ask this question in another way. If they have so much love to remove an illegal construction, there are plenty of such constructions within the Colombo Municipal Council limits. Why are they not looking into those?
The foundation stone for a new market complex in Demadokada was laid this morning.
The ceremony was held under the auspices of Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa. We found a permanent solution for the garbage problem that persisted within the municipal council limits. When this problem cropped up, I took the initiative to provide homes for close to 300 persons living close to the garbage dump in Kolonava. We have laid out a permanent solution for this problem after bringing down a special team from the World Bank to analyze the problem with an investment of close to $90 million. Mayor of Colombo AJ Muzammil also participated in the event. We have commissioned this project with the investment of 47 million rupees. At the conclusion of the project, we would be in need of close to 10 million rupees. Even when there is a shortfall, there should be someone to point it out. Therefore, I have found the ideal person for this job. I would like to tell the traders that this is not a foundation stone that will go to waste.
Newsfirst reporter Vijay Singha Valikanda filed this report on an abandoned infant from Kurunegala.
An infant about 7 days old was found abandoned on a park bus at the main bus depot in Kurunegala at about 3:45 this afternoon. A woman who was nearby notified the police and they in turn admitted the infant to the General Hospital in Kurunegala. The police are currently conducting investigations to find the infant's parents.
Newsfirst reporter Vijay Singha Valikanda, Kurunegala.
A seminar on criminal justice took place in Colombo today. The event was held under the auspices of Secretary to the Ministry of Law and Order, retired Major General Nandamala Varachi.
Inspector General of Police N.K. Langakon, senior police officers and representatives from the Scottish Police Academy were present at the event.
The public still rely on the police when there is a threat to law and order. It is entrenched in their minds that a peaceful situation can be brought about by them. Thus, they commanded close public scrutiny. Affected members of the public find causes to complain when a situation in which there is an erosion of confidence. This is an aspect that deserves greater attention. It is my view that there is a need to improve the image of police officer, the link between the law enforcement and the society. I have had the occasion to observe a fear alibi, reluctance on the part of the members of the public to walk into a police station. This situation has more often led to their turning to politicians to intervene. This naturally leads to a degree of involvement by politicians on behalf of their electors.
Think tank, the Pathfinder Foundation, says that the government and the relevant authorities must act expeditiously to use natural gas reserves discovered in the Mannar Basin for electricity generation.
The discovery of natural gas in the Mannar Basin is a potential game changer for this country. The amounts of natural gas discovered would enable Sri Lanka to be self-sufficient in energy for 20-25 years on the basis of an assumption made that demand for energy would grow at about 5.2% per annum. There is a great deal that needs to be done very early to take advantage of this. So the order of the day is to move very quickly and to have clarity in terms of policies so that the investment can come on stream as quickly as possible. So there is much that needs to be done to take advantage of this potentially game-changing discovery of natural gas.
A monk from the Bamaniangala Aranya Senasane in Tamil Nadu passed away after being attacked by a wild elephant at dawn today. Now, it is common for wild elephants to roam around this area. Now, the wild elephant had broken the roof of the alms hall of the ashram in search of food. The monk, a 65-year-old Venerable Gonapura Saranankarathera, had filled the basin with water and had brought a bunch of bananas and attempted to feed the animal, prompting the attack. Our reporter says that the elephant that attacked the monk is still in the area.
Although the only residents in the Henanigala hamlet, which comes under the purview of the Dehiyattakandiya Divisional Secretariat, are members of the indigenous community, the settlement itself is only 31 years old. The term settlement is more suitable than hamlet, given the fact that Henanigala was established as per provisions made through law. 100 families were settled in Henanigala, which falls under the Mahaveli Sea Zone, in 1983. The homeland of these 100 families, who were all from the indigenous community, was Kandaganvila. Kandaganvila has now been included in the Madru Oya National Reserve. While no sustainable program was introduced to retain the indigenous community settled in Henanigala to the agrarian life, aside from the allocating of plots of land, there was no visible infrastructure development undertaken here. On 4 occasions since the 12th of February, Action TV has exposed a fraudulent project that has been undertaken at the Henanigala settlement, which has grown to a settlement of 400 families since its establishment 3 decades ago. The fraud in question was a misuse of 4,350,000 rupees allocated by the Ministry of Culture and Aesthetic Affairs for the construction of 25 homes in Henanigala South by the National Housing Development Authority. On World Habitat Day last year, the Ministry of Culture and Aesthetic Affairs, which had failed to properly monitor the project after entrusting construction to the National Housing Development Authority, distributed homes of varying quality and size among the community of Henanigala. The housing project was completed against a backdrop where about 200 families from the second and third generation of the indigenous community at Henanigala do not have a claim to even an inch of land.
Following this survey, they informed us that we were to be allocated about half an acre. But as of now, we have not even received 20 perches, let alone half an acre. We were not even hoping to receive 20 perches.
Affirming the fact that the people of Henanigala too are entitled to the new Mahaveli program of granting 20 perches of land to the subsequent generations of original settlers who have been deprived of land, an event to distribute land deeds was held in Henanigala on the 13th of August last year, which was incidentally the International Day for Indigenous People. Deeds were presented to 112 families. The subject ministry could be labouring under the assumption that it now only has to address the lack of land for about 100 families in this settlement. However, the recipients of the new deeds are facing a problem that warrants a speedy resolution.
Well, in sports news, cricket's youngest arch rivals Afghanistan and Nepal battled it out today at the Zahur Ahmad Chowdhury Stadium in Chittagong in the 9th match of the World T20. Now, batting first, Nepal posted 141 runs on the board for the loss of 5 wickets in their allotted 20 overs.
Let's go. Heads is the call. Set, then you'll get used to the pace. Slashed over backward point. Driven down towards mid-off, and the catch taken, Mohammed Nabi. And the world. Now the reverse hit, the switch hit, and it's taken. So Nabi strikes. Tournament goes on. Bowling.
Opener Subhash Kakrel top scored for Nepal with 56 runs, while Sharad Veshakwar chipped in with 37 runs.
And that's what they think of it.
Shapur Zadran picked up 2 wickets for Afghanistan.
And he pumps it. Top edge, straight up. Keeper, got him. Yes, there's another one. Bowlers in the field, then we're in with a sharp seam.
Now, chasing 142 runs to win, the Afghans could only reach 132 runs for the loss of 8 wickets in their 20 overs.
Gone! They try to wind up and smoke it. Shorter, heaved. Third man in with a chance.
Asghar Sanikzai top scored for Afghanistan with 49 runs.
Yeah, he's gone. He couldn't get all of it. And they're celebrating.
Jitendra Mukhia bagged 3 wickets for 18 runs for Nepal. Nepal won the game by 9 runs.
Good catch. Gone high in the air. Is it going to fall safe? No, it isn't. What a catching. Down towards long on.
Meanwhile, in more cricket news, the Sri Lanka women's cricket team defeated the Irish women's cricket team by 49 runs in a World T20 warm-up game. The Sri Lankan women posted 170 runs for the loss of 5 in their 20 overs, while the Irish women could only post 129 runs for the loss of 9 in their 20 overs. Moving on to other sports news. The World Badminton Federation has issued a letter of caution to the Sri Lankan Badminton Association. The letter reads that if the SLBA does not act in accordance with the SLBA constitution, the World Badminton Federation would have to consider the suspension of the Sri Lanka Badminton Association.
According to new sports regulations, it has been made mandatory for all national sports bodies to hold their respective elections for office bearers every 2 years. However, the constitution of the Sri Lanka Badminton Association reads that the election of office bearers and annual general meeting needs to be held annually. Emphasizing on this fact, the World Badminton Federation had issued a letter of caution to the Sri Lanka Badminton Association, with a copy of the letter also directed to the National Olympic Committee. The letter reads that the Sri Lankan Badminton Association must hold the election of office bearers before the 31st of this month, and in the event of the failure to do so, the World Badminton Federation would have to consider suspending the Sri Lanka Badminton Association until such time that a proper governance structure is implemented. The Secretary of the National Olympic Committee, Maxwell De Silva, confirmed that the World Badminton Federation had directed a letter to the Sri Lanka Badminton Association. The president of SLBA, Suraj Dandenia, also said that he received such a letter from the World Badminton Federation. Dandenia adds that the letter instructs him to act in accordance with their regulations, casting aside the sports law of the country.
Finally, in rugby news, the school's under-20 Division 1 rugby tournament kicked off today. In the game played in Parliamentary, Trinity College Kandy emerged victorious over DSC Nanaka College, Colombo. Meanwhile, the game between St. Peter's College, Colombo and Kingswood College Kandy played at the CRNFC grounds ended in a draw as both sides scored 14 points each.
And that's a wrap of your primetime news for tonight. Thank you for joining us. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Nicola De Zoizao.
And I'm Shahan Jurangpati. Good night and take care.
Hotline 0114-896-896. www.newsfirst.lk. Feedback at newsfirst.lk.